Good morning, dear friends. I hope you can hear and see me. Today, I'm Erga, by the way. I'm going to speak and talk with you about the topic crossing Machsom. And I have to make a caveat that this is not for the beginners. And I know that most of you're not the first, readers, let's put it this way. You are quite advanced people because I have observed all your questions before, all the sessions I had before you. You are quite advanced and you're very educated and experienced people. And therefore, I have chosen today to speak with you about this topic of crossing Machsom. And I know it's a very famous topic because this is actually about attaining the Creator. It's about the practical elements of a Kabbalah when you actually connect with the Creator. And it is important to know that obviously, first of all, you have to go through the basic course. Like in Kabbalah platform, you register, you study there, you get the fundamental knowledge about the method, the wisdom itself, quite a lot of theory there in terms of how the world is structured, how you perceive and how it is being described by Kabbalists, from the world of Ein Sof, then Adam Kadmon, then you talk about the Tzilut, Yitzhara, Bria, Yitzhara, and Asiya. All this stuff you have to study, you have to know the structure of the worlds. It has its own place. And yes, also you study about the group, how you eventually implement those knowledge you've learned about how you attain the Kabbalah, how you attain the Creator in the wisdom of Kabbalah. And this is where you need friends sitting next to you, studying together next to you, helping each other, connecting with each other, giving each other support and prayer. And yes, all this is something you need to know before coming to this topic, because this topic is a bit of advanced in a way that first of all, it's very difficult to explain what actually means to feel and experience the connection with the Creator. And nonetheless, I think it is possible at least to give you directions, the principles outlining what actually you would see, observe, and experience yourself while crossing Machsom. And obviously, the very important point just before crossing Machsom. And specifically, I like this session because if you look at the archives of Kabbalah.info.com and you look at the late lessons, you probably had hardly see any topics about in relation crossing Machsom. And the reason, if you look at the early lessons, like back 20 years, almost roughly, plus or minus, Michael Laitman, Rav, would give you much more detailed information and explanations. And he would warn students that, look, in the beginning, I will tell you almost everything you ask from me. But later, once you advance, I will not tell you all the things that I've been telling you now. And that's a bit of having these recorded lessons, right? And that's why I have pulled up materials back from 2003, 2004. And they've been traced up accurately by our friends. Since then, they have a good archives on this topic, and therefore I have collected information and materials for about at least 13 lessons on this topic. But obviously, we need to start with something, right? So first of all, what is Machsom and what is the feelings, right? This is, by the way, is quite a challenge for me to explain because, as you know, and I will give you a tip of advice that you most likely have heard about the books Attaining the World, right? Kind of commentary of Ralph Laitman to the Book of Samadhi. And I urge you to read if you haven't read it, but I'm sure you have read it. But nonetheless, the another thing, I have those materials which I looked at. They have been explained also in Russian, and again, having these skills of knowing Russian language as well, I have taken this privilege and translated some of the materials about crossing Machsom topic into the English, so this which I am here to telling you now and sharing with you. Well, and first of all, feeling when crossing Machsom, what does this look like? And again, obviously, to feel it, you need to get a masach, a screen, right? This is what Kabbalists tell you. And this is a result of the efforts you probably make within 3-5 years, as Baal HaSulam mentioned, and Rabash confirmed that it is very possible. If you're a regent student, if you're doing every day what Kabbalist is telling to you, the likelihood you can make it, yes, it is possible. But also you having the caveat from Michael Laitman saying, because of the last generation we live in, because of greatest aviyut or coarseness, if you like, of the will to receive we're having, it puts obstacles in front of us and makes our path longer. And realistically, Ralph Laitman says that we need probably 10-15 years. And hopefully, again, the reason of a practical session of it, we're trying to obviously shorten the time. We don't want to spend, long time studying and, because we have a lot of things to enjoy nonetheless, right? So that's, another reason why I have chosen to help all of us, to advance quicker than we would probably, want to be. And I tell you another trick. When I was tracing all the lessons with Ralph Laitman, I was trying to also highlight those points which he would say, well, you would forget it anyways. And I know there are some decent students which would also follow the same thing. They would take those very precious excerpts, I would say, of this topic. So let's begin. Anyways, feeling Machsom, of course, Machsom is when you feel one single force that is spreading throughout the entire world. And you feel you're being adhered to this force, and you're ready to make and accept anything and everything that exists in this force. So you could imagine it's actual overwhelming, right? Feeling. You would never confuse such experience with anything else. It's not like New Age or something. It's not a meditation. It's really an experience in your developed sensation, when you develop the kalim, the vessels of a bestowal, when you work with the friends, when you study the books with the Talmud Sefirot and read the book of Zohar and everything else. This all comes down to the point when actually you accumulate certain sufficient level of your actions. As Kabbalists explained to us, actually everybody is kind of a guaranteed, right, that you attain the Creator eventually, the Gmar Tikkun, but what matters for us is speed of that process. And therefore, when you study Kabbalah, you accelerating the process. You accelerate the number of actions you would attain the Creator quicker than if you would just simply lived without studying Kabbalah, right? So, and we continue. So when you feel it, you feel as if you're losing yourself, sensation of yourself. It's not about losing your identity, because actually you have this physical body, right? Like I do have physical body, right? So we all have something to associate us with. But when you're talking about spiritual experience, you actually go through such states when you feel attached to this upper force, sublime force. And it's really a unique experience. And people may sometime, especially if you attend and participate in the congresses, conventions, and Kabbalah retreats, you could also you could feel it at least for a few moments, few seconds, being here and there. It's kind of going back and forth, right? You're not exactly crossing for a permanent time in a regular stable, but at least you have flavors of it. So it is possible, yes, and you will see, you will hear, you will feel it, definitely, right? So this is something really helpful, right? So I'd like to give you a bit of optimism, right? That it is possible, it is very possible, and you have to urge for it. And moreover, Kabbalists tell us every time you make an effort, imagine the next time you're crossing the Machsom. So you should never give up, in other words, right? So you should always do your best. And this is truly so. You shouldn't, say for, if you think of 10, 15 years, you say, well, come on, okay, maybe it's my year number 5, for example, I have to wait 10 years, so let's wait. No, it doesn't work like that. You have to, every time as if you're crossing today. So this is very important, by the way, right? And let's give you this coin by coin, you join the great account, right? And this is why it's very important to do the maximum possible in every given moment. The next topic, which is very important to talk about, is what does it mean actually when they cross Machsom? And people many times ask, is it individual experience or is it like collectively with a 10 or group you have to cross Machsom? And you will find many remarks of Kabbalists that most likely it is an individual experience. Right? It's possible, obviously, you have read about the authors of a book of Zohar, 10 Kabbalists, they've been great. Most likely they've done collectively, but I don't know, we've never been there, but I could guess that they made it. So, therefore, this crossing Machsom experience is an individual one being. It is also felt as a jump. It's not like you're slowly, gradually going into this field of the spiritual force, attaining the great. No, it is a jump. It's a leap. But it's a result of your previous efforts and exertions. And the important thing on top of what I just told you, working in the group and knowing the structure of the world, everything else. What is important that these feelings, they are overwhelming, meaning that it defines the rest of your life. Because once you're in there, you taste the flavor and you kind of want it more and more. You engage in it because it's really, you feel it, it is over you, it is inside of you, and it is surrounding you. And everything comes through him, and he defines everything. And this is really beautiful experience of crossing Machsom. And you feel it, if you feel it constantly, regular, right? You kind of managing it. You have this touching point to the creator. It never disappears, in other words, and becomes permanent with you. And this is what Kabbalists mean when they cross Machsom. It's not like, you get back and forth, but it's actual stable one. So, but again, you can, always possible, you have some surges, you can transitions period, but which is fine. But until it becomes irreversible, then you may say you have crossed the Machsom and you have a major transition basically to the spiritual world. So again, you cannot mix with anything else. It's a unique experience, and you could feel it, right? It's so. The next one, and which is a very important point, which I would like to highlight, and I would like to urge you also to pay attention on. We always tell about the prayer, request. In Hebrew language, you call it tefillah, a request, right? And when we pray Creator, we should not ask Him like, be merciful to us, give us to us, fulfill us, because that the implication of it is that He doesn't want you to give. But as we know, starting from the books, that He's unconditional, loving, and bestowing force. So even this very moment, he's ready here to give us everything he would love to give us, but we don't simply have a kelim, the vessels, to accept his abundance, the light. So, and therefore you understand the nonsense of asking, be merciful to us. He's always merciful. He's always there waiting for us. It's only us, right? And therefore another word in Hebrew, leit palel, which actually identifies how we can and we should work with the Creator, meaning we should judge ourselves. Are we ready yet to accept His abundance? Am I ready and corrected? Did I correct my vessels? What else is missing for me to adhere with the Creator, be in a resemblance of a quote of a Creator? So you constantly check yourself whether are you aligned, right, whether being like a Creator, and this is self-judgment. And therefore, you check yourself always, right, against the Creator, against His qualities. And this is a difference between the desirable state we'd like to be and the current state. And this is what we call it leit palel, a self-judgment. Because the light, again, is always there. He's always there, right? And therefore, all these prayers, as we know, like asking, be good to us, change, why are you doing it to me? He's always does good to you. We'll, by the way, later talk about the states we go through, like in descent. There is also part of it, advancement. And we often mistakenly think that there's something going wrong with it. To the contrary, this is an invitation to His connection. He's inviting you. And therefore, this kind of experience, you can easily mix it with any corporeal state you would like to be, right? Because when you do something good in this world, when we're advancing in some career, in the professional life, in knowledge, becoming anybody you would like to be, you always feel and see advancement, right? You feel it, and you become more and more professional, become an expert, and then eventually, here, you will feel as if it is going other way around, opposite direction. But this is a filling in your vessels and your will to receive. Remember it. It's a very important point. And therefore, you think as if you're reversing back. But from the Creator point of view, you're always advancing, even in this given state. For very good reason, because now you have a deep feeling, assuring that you have done everything possible, and the only one who is going to help you is the Creator. And therefore, it is a sign He's inviting you. The moment you think about Him, the moment you would like to pray Him, it's an invitation. Remember, you are not the one, created yourself. Creator knows you, how you're going to react. You will not surprise Him if you feel something, seemingly and go through something bad. Does mean that He would ask, He would expect you from you, change it, be good to me. No, He would know it, first of all, but secondly, what is important, He would expect from you, from being a Kabbalist student, you would ask something different, be in resemblance with the Creator, right? So that's a point where you ask for right thing. In other words, we ask for the missing point of a hisaron, or deficiency, in other words, of the will to bestow, the intention to bestow. The thing that we're trying to prepare ourselves when we read the books, we take articles, we sit together, we read the books together. They're very good one. They're very you should do. But whether you call it intentions in the strict words, very doubtful, right? It's your preparation. The intention, the masach, the screen comes from the above. So the moment you judge yourself in the right way, the moment you're very open and transparent with the Creator, and you're asking the right thing. Therefore, Kabbalists say you have to be very open, strict with the Creator. You have to open up to the Creator. You have to make your heart direct to the friends and to the Creator. Right? The beauty of it, it's really science, right? It tells you exactly where you are and where you have to be. So it's really a science. It's nothing like you have to imagine yourself or doing whatever. And even if you imagine, it's like a game. You imagine the next step, the next layer where you'd like to advance to, right? When you read from the books, like, being connected. Remember, we have a beautiful article of Rabash, by the way, when he saw himself connected with the friends, even being distant physically from them. But because he wanted to be in connection with them, he attained this state. It's not about the mechanical movements we do with the body. No, it's about the feelings. It's about desire, what to receive. This is attainment, because this is something is above time and space. It lives forever, right? Unlike the body, like physics, we all know that the body, physical body, is being born, and then in some point of time it's going to die. But the one that, let's say, the one lives forever, truly the will to receive, that is being corrected, to bestow, this remains forever. This is what we go, and when we pray in a way that we would like to ask him to change us, we actually, what we do, we sacrificing the ego, the will to receive, the intention to receive, for self-pleasure. This is sacrifice. This is a prayer, right? This is what we tell. This is what being corrected and adjusted. And this is done, exactly through the prayer, but in the right way, as I just mentioned to you. It's very important, bear in mind, right? Because sometimes you hear, well, I have asked this, and why he has done that. It's very bad to me, and well, it is. I'm not saying it is something wrong. You feel it, and therefore you do it. And usually, you would express it yourself. But in terms of advancement of the Creator, it doesn't help. You need to be right away in the right environment, surrounded by friends who may remind you, or the books that remind you that actually this is for the good reason, for the advancement. You never go backwards. You always go forward. It's just the way you react should be the right one, right? Okay, so in other words, to summarize this very important point, you never ask a Creator be good to him. He always good to you by definition. What you do, you make self-correcting. You sacrifice your ego. That's why you pray for it. You ask for it, right? To be in the bestowing state. And then you merit and you measure yourself, right, against it. And you can advance more and more, deeper and deeper, to the point that you actually would start going through the state of ibur nikani machin, being impregnated in the womb, right? And then you develop yourself spiritual way, not physical, spiritually, right? These states. And you would build up from scratch, if you like. Obviously, you have point height in the beginning, but nevertheless, you are you're shaping yourself, obviously with the help of Creator, with the light, but yet it is you who is doing it, right? So you're building this masach to cross the Machsom. Another very important thing which I would like to mention to you is about the feeling, the upper governance in crossing Machsom. Usually, when you crossing Machsom, you feel the souls of other people, and they should not be necessarily of your friends next to you physically or virtually, really living nearby to you. You could also feel the souls of other friends living, opposite side of the planet, or maybe souls of a Kabbalist living historically well before you. And this is because in spirituality there's no space and time, right, for obvious reason. And therefore, these feelings, it is overwhelmed, it grows, right? And suddenly, and you feel it, and then it grows, right? You feel attached to all these sephirot, the structure of the world, the Partsofim. You feel it gradually. We essentially become vivid, and that is you will experience it once you're there, and you understand you're part of the big integral system, because it's, if you compare with the other world, right? When you go to new territory, new place, usually you look ahead and you look around and what is new, you try to analyze and study. But in Kabbalah, once you're there, you feel it, you see it, right? And then you attain it. That's why Kabbalists get the knowledge and attainment of what happened in the past and what's going to happen in the future, because they're again beyond time and space. And it's kind of a new instrument, if you like. It's like a telescope. If you look into space and you watch the stars and planets, I know you have an instrument. And same here in spirituality, you have to have this instrument, masach. With it, you cross the Machsom. So bear in mind, this is course Machsom is kind of creating a communication channel with our souls, right? So you're being connected with the integral system. You're not feeling alone. Therefore, you're part of everybody. Remember Shekhinah and all these names. It's because it's a collection of ourselves, right? Which already we had these corrections as well just before you. Another important thing about crossing Masach is that you have to build a kli. Remember, Raf always mentioned that you build a kli with the friends, right? Because they also do have a point in the heart, and Rabash tells us as well that all of us, we have a tiny point in the heart, but it's not enough to have a fire, a flame of the desire or will to bestow. Therefore, when we mingle, when we integrate with each other, we do increase the volume, if you like, and scale of your initial will to bestow the point in the heart, to the extent that it grows, becoming a real desire, right? So that is, you do it with the friends, and what is important here, that when you connect, right, it's not about really being ethical or being good or whatever. Not, no, we're talking about truly the physics, the physics of the spiritual world, meaning that you feel these desires, and it's not important whether they relate to you good or not. No, anything you connect with the friends, trying to understand them, it has nothing to do with spiritual at all. You just become, if you do that, you just simply being part of their egoistical desire or will to receive, and then you're simply being feeling empathy. Is it something to do with spirituality? No, and therefore you shouldn't be confused. But once you collect this point in the heart together, but you grasp it, and then you really created this substance or beginning, flame of the spiritual world. So therefore, when you meet with the friends, very important, you decide between yourself and agree that actually you work on these common desires. It's nothing to do with mechanical actions, basically, right? And if you compare with any level of inanimate, vegetative, and animal, again, these are just shells. When you enter the spiritual world, you wouldn't find all these things. The kind of a consequence of the desires, different levels, which exist in your five sense. But once you're there, once you cross a Machsom, you wouldn't notice all these things which you see here, sense here with five senses, and therefore this world is being claimed by Kabbalists as imaginary world. right? And there is clear distinction. Sorry, and you should distinguish the things between being in this world and the next world, being spiritual world. And important thing here is to, when you read the structure of the world, right, like in Talmud Sefirot, for example, or Pticha, you read them and you have these drawings in your mind, right? So you go through the mind and then you try to feel it, or you ask the question of Raf and then you try to imagine. So you also, by doing so, we are like a children, they're playing, right? But through the playing they grow, they learn. Same here, we do the same thing when we learn from the Kabbalists through their books. We learn and play and we get to the higher level. So bottom line, we don't get involved in the corporal problems of friends. We agree to build up on spiritual desires, right? So we have to segregate. We have to remember, we talked about many times, there is this world, we have to respect the laws and traditions of this world. At the same time, we have a spiritual world where we have to abide by the advices of Kabbalists that we have to hear and attain. Once you're there, when you connect and you have experience in there, then you feel free to somehow connect to things. But before becoming experienced Kabbalist, you wouldn't do it, because otherwise you're gonna be confused. And remember, we want to cross Machsom sooner than later, right? That's the whole point. And the point which I'm coming to is that what is the feeling of a crossing Machsom? It is really to be in the friends, being outside of us. Because if you hear any people in this world, any methods, as you most likely you're gonna hear them, feel yourself, breathing techniques, mental, meditate, you come down, relax, you feel your soul, and everything else. In Kabbalah, wisdom Kabbalah, it is other way around. You have to go outside of yourself, because Kabbalah is saying nothing spiritual exists in the yourself. In the yourself, you have only will to receive, and you're gonna just waste your time, if you look inside of you. Therefore, working outwardly in connecting with the friends and the Creator, this is where actually find the space and the area, or what they call it, probably the place is right, definition of it, when building common desire outside, in connection between all of us. This is where you feel the true spirituality. And this is where you basically connect with the people's soul, and therefore, because Creator is loving, bestowing unconditionally, and you would like to attain Him, you would like to be in contact with the Creator. Therefore, your efforts being like Him, meaning that you would love the souls of the people around you, well, the whole planet, the humanity, right? Basically, that's why you become a loving creature, truly loving, like He created us, right? And therefore, you hear a lot, and you feel a lot, and Creator is hidden. He's hidden because He is will to bestow and loving, and we are will to receive. That's why He's hidden. We have concealment as a result, right? For a very good reason. Secondly, why He doesn't want to, give us, He hides Himself because He doesn't want to be perceived that He's a bad force doing bad things for us. Why we feeling bad things sometimes? Because Creator and the upper force, they're always coming closer and closer to us. Like, imagine you're living this level, and then you have the upper world. Then they at some point in time, they coming closer. But because we have a difference in the form, in the shape, meaning that they're to bestow and we're to receive, obviously there is a conflict, right? And therefore we feel it as a suffering when we feel upper force coming to us, when the Creator is nearing us. Remember, we have a Shamari. Call him where he is near, meaning that he would awaken you, giving you thoughts to pray, connect with him. And sometimes in this sense, it is a good sign because he is close to you. The only missing point again, remember we talked about the prayer, late palel. You pray. See what is the difference between your being in current state and the desirable state, or this gap actually should force you to raise the right prayer, right? You express what is in your heart. You're being honest, direct with the Creator, and then you turn it to the prayer. So you'd ask for deficiencies in bestowal and loving, whatever you're missing, right, at the given point, because we also have prayer in the prayer, and it's really individual states you have to go through. It depends on where you are at that given moment, and this is where you begin the prayer, right? This late palel, self-judgment, in other words, sacrificing ego to connect with the Creator. And once you sacrifice your ego, you will feel a pleasure, sublime pleasure, instead of suffering, and you would feel the resistance. Therefore, it is actually help. I know it's paradox, sounds like paradox, but it's actually help on in descent, because you're feeling weak yourself, as if you seemingly have no force, no power within yourself. But actually, it's an invitation, because then there is no grounds for you to resist this upper force, and your prayer being, deeply coming from the heart to the higher level, the chance you get the help is very high, higher than if you feel yourself confident, powerful, strong enough, but this is within the will to receive again. And you see the trick? So it's very important that you shouldn't be afraid of any states, by the way, what you have to go through in the spirituality, and therefore you use all these tools. You're being precise in your exertions, in your questions, and therefore Rabash and Rav Michael insist that you should be able and should be ready to answer any questions you may have from will to receive, whether being in a good state or whether being in descent. And the quicker you go through the states, the better. So throughout the time, you would learn how quicker you can go through all these states, being connected with the friends in the 10 and the group. So that's probably the key things I would like to tell you about, that you have to pay specific attention on. And I know that sometimes it's very difficult to think straight, as our teacher Ralph Michael explains to us, and therefore you may use even this session, for example, saying, yeah, I've heard that this is being said to us, advised to us, my heart is not there yet, I'm here, and therefore, Creator, I need your help, give me this force, anything that I could attain it, because I'm so desperate, I need for the good of my friends. I know it's not probably sounds sincere to me, but I would really love to have it. So when you do this scrutiny, and just give an example, right? Obviously, once you do this scrutiny, you become, and in you inviting the Creator become closer to you, because this prayer, this late palel, when you judge yourself, you effectively reducing the time when you don't need to suffer, because anybody else in around the globe and the rest of the humanity don't know it, right? They simply go through the path of the suffering when they label or when they suffer. Obviously, they go through the path which is not favorable. But we are being a Kabbalist students of Kabbalists, we can take advantage of it. Remember, even in the book of Zohar, it is written that you may suffer, because suffering, what they call it, makes your flesh meat or flesh, whatever we call it, softer, gentle, meaning that your heart, right, your will to receive becomes gentle, softer, and then you're ready to accept any light that works upon you, reforming light, that trying to change your will to receive into will to bestow. It's a gradual process, but you can accelerate, you can speed up the process again through the Laitman, through the self-judgment, through the prayer, right prayer. Remember, he's always good. He's like a cow who would like to give a milk to the calf. But the problem is what, this light and abundance, it cannot go through the egoistic desire. It is only coming to the right, corrected will to receive in order to bestow. That's important remark I would like to make to you. And then you always try to measure yourself every day, see where you are at the moment. And it's very important to measure yourself, right? We're talking about the science, the method, the wisdom. And this is way to measure yourself without having any trick or lying to yourself is with the group, with the 10. Right? This way you can test yourself for sure. And this is a very important point. And therefore, I hear many times from the students complain that, he has done this and that, and why I've done this good to him, and he or she is not just fair to me, and all this stuff. I do not argue at all, and you're right. Most likely you're right. But remember, if you're going to the point, why are you here? Why are you studying Kabbalah? Exactly because you would like to attain the will to bestow. You would like to attain the Creator. And friends kind of standing before you and the Creator. He's on your way to the Creator. Right? And once you change an attitude, no matter what you feel your friend has done to you, but you keep loving and bestowing to him or her, and you would obtain this vessel of a bestowing unconditionally. Remember the trick? You would have to resemble the Creator, unconditional love and bestowing. And this, the very act of sacrificing your ego, will lift you up to another perception of reality. And surprisingly, as the outcome, as a byproduct, you would see that your friend, which you have seen seemingly doing something bad for you, something he is doing good for you. You just haven't seen it. You haven't had this instrument. You haven't had these vessels, additional lens, seeing that he was actually doing good to you. It's like being in a gym, right? You have a coach or trainer who gives you, extra weight, and you complain because it's very hard for you. But once you lift it up, you become stronger, right? That you become, wow, you're macho. You've done it. So it is similar here that you do it extra work. And I know it's easy to say sometimes than to do it in the given moment. And therefore, we have this time of 10, 15 years until we scrutinize, we make exertion. Eventually, what helps me out, for example, and may help you as well, and not only for me, but as a friend, that imagine we're a big family, right? Imagine you have a son or daughter, and how do you relate to the son or daughter, even if they've done something good? You still love them, right? And same relationship, right? I hope it helped, and I know it's not the way you should now act like being your son or daughter, but your relationship, your attitude to that, it may help you to jump over to the spiritual level. Try to justify your friend, right? This is what they call justifying the friends. And again, this all makes you closer to the point when you are close to the crossing Machsom. You would like to attain the Creator, right? And this, everything else will just pull your desire what to receive, which you're building up, to the ceiling, as if balloon, going up there and then suspend it somewhere at the ceiling, and the only missing point is just a jump that you need to make. And this jump is only possible with the help of the Creator, with the light. But in order to get this light, you need to make sure that your balloon will to receive your draft, let's say your construction of the will to receive is up there at the ceiling, ready to get the reforming light, to jump, to make this leap, to have the jump. And this is simply by sacrificing your ego, not yourself. And you will start dissociating yourself from the ego and associating yourself with the will to receive, but with the right intention now, with the intention to bestow. So you eventually end up being born in a new person, a new creature that is, that has very sublime pleasures, these tastes. You still receive a light abundance. This pleasure, it's very, very high. It's at the point that we couldn't even describe. I'm sure you have seen all these and read yourself the books that people would be ready to cut them, their hands and legs 7 times a day, but just to feel this taste of a creator, attaining the creator. But again, you have to go all through these points which I just mentioned to you. Interesting enough, that once you start practicing these things which I mentioned to you, and based on the Kabbalist advice from Rav, right? If you go backwards at the archives and early lessons, the interesting point though, initially we'll do like for ourselves, right? And it's nothing wrong with it at all. You do it. But at some point of time, you just realize that the very action of it, doing the action of bestow without any expectations, which is very important, right? Then these very actions will actually pull you out to the right intention. Well, I guess this is what I wanted to say to you. And I would like to hear your questions if you have any, obviously, during Q&A session in Zoom. So hopefully, you have your questions ready. The main point, again, I would like to emphasize that the connection with the friends, reading the books, following the advice, making sure that you are coming close to this point, you will be able to scrutinize, make exertions, internal these questions again and again, write them down, and make all the authentic texts of Kabbalah familiar to you. You take articles of Samadhi, you rewrite them, make closer to you. Get rid of these ancient definitions, words, make it close to use simple definitions, will to receive, will to bestow, use intentions to bestow, not masach, make it close to you so your heart would feel it. This is a transformation, right, of your intentions, nothing else, right? So make it close to you, not make it, somewhere theory. Don't leave it just like that. Just don't leave it as another books to read and a nice story. If you really want to up to, it's really good experience to feel, and it's a rewarding experience, and you simply advance. I hope you find this session helpful. And I'll give you 5-10 break time. You take a cup of coffee, tea, and then come back. We'll open up a Zoom for you, and ask questions. See you there soon. Okay. Looking forward to see you.